What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick with Surprise Onside Sports. We got a great one for you today, breaking down the top 3 running back studs from last week, taking a look into why they were so successful and what we can expect from them going forward. Do me a huge favor, drop a like, subscribe. Let's get right into it. First up on this list, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the back from injury, the dominant Dalvin Cook with 48.6 fantasy points. An absolutely unreal day for the Minnesota Vikings and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin had 30 rushes for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. Along with, in case you're wanting a few more points, 2 receptions, 63 yards, and another touchdown. An absolutely unbelievable day for Dalvin Cook. 4 total touchdowns, 5.4 yard average rushing the ball. Coming into this game, I think everyone thought there was the real possibility that Dalvin would have a good day, as Green Bay's defense is known for being able to be run on. However, I don't think any of us saw this coming. This was dominant and impressive in every sense of the word, and I truly believe this is how Minnesota would like to play their games going forward, limiting what Kirk Cousins has to do and putting a ton of the responsibility on this run game, on this line, Dalvin Cook, and a little bit of Alexander Mattison here and there. I believe Dalvin was able to dominate the way he did for 3 real main reasons this week. The first being game script. They were ahead most of the game, or was close enough where they were able to continue to run the ball and not have to rely on Kirk pretty much at all. Second one being this Green Bay defense is an absolute pushover. They're pretty darn soft, as we saw last year and this year, as they didn't address any of those needs in the draft. Instead, they went for a backup quarterback, a running back, a halfback tight end type of Swiss Army knife kind of guy. Pretty unimpressive stuff from the Green Bay Packers. This showed why you need to draft for teams in your division and draft to fill your weaknesses, because teams are going to absolutely pick on them the same way that the Minnesota Vikings did here. The third thing being is that Dalvin just looked really darn good. He was reading the holes super well. He looked explosive as usual. He really looked like what we expect Dalvin to look like coming off of injury. Just a phenomenal performance all around. Going forward next week, I expect us to see a lot more of the same, as the Minnesota Vikings will be at home for the Detroit Lions. And the Lions just got worked by the Indianapolis Colts offensive line and run game, as Jonathan Taylor had an okay day, but surprisingly it was Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins who absolutely dominated against the Lions defense, as the Colts blew out the Lions by over 20 points. Statistically, the Lions are 30th in the NFL in fantasy points allowed to running backs, giving up over 26 a game, and I would be pretty darn stunned if Dalvin Cook had less than 26 in this game. Will he have another 48.6? Probably not, just based off of the touchdowns. Having 4 touchdowns is pretty unsustainable. However, he's scored 1 or more touchdowns in every single game this year, so you know he's good for hitting pay dirt at least once, even possibly So you know he's good for hitting pay dirt once, possibly even twice in this game. I could see him having another 2 rushing with the upside of 1 receiving. If I set the Dalvin Cook over-under next week fantasy points at 26, I'd absolutely hammer the over. Main reasons, I believe this is the way Minnesota wants to play the rest of the season, is running the ball, not leaving their defense on the field, because their defense is atrocious. They don't trust Kirk Cousins, clearly. And with the Detroit Lions being as pitiful as they are against the run, I expect Dalvin to continue to have another massive week. And if Dalvin can stay healthy, I expect to see a lot more of this from him the rest of the season, and he possibly could be RB1 going forward. In terms of what I would do if I was a Dalvin Cook owner besides dance, I wouldn't really look to trade him at all, as I'm not sure who you'd really trade him for besides Alvin Kamara, and at this point, you're probably better off just holding on to Dalvin, making sure you have Alexander Mattison as a backup. That's the big thing. If you are a Dalvin Cook owner right now, as we've said all season, you have to have Alexander Mattison as a backup. I would try to trade for Dalvin. That's the obvious advice. You're probably going to have to give up so darn much to get him. No one's going to be looking to move off of him after a 48.6 point week. So while it's easy to say you should look to trade for Dalvin, in all reality, I'm not sure you're going to be able to without having to give up more value than what it is worth for a running back, even if it is a running back that's performing at this level. Next up on the list, we have the PPR machine, Alvin Kamara. Kamara only had 12 rushes for 67 yards, That's never been where Kamara has found his value. His value has always been in his past game work, as he had 13 targets, 9 receptions, and 96 yards, which is basically a full receiver game worth of numbers. It's pretty unbelievable how he's able to basically be a receiver 1/2 and a running back 1/2. That's why he's able week over week to be a top 3 fantasy football player, because of the pass work and the run work. What was really impressive about this game, though, for Kamara was that he had 25.3 without finding the end zone. If he finds the end zone here, he's well over 30. And keep in mind, this was all against the Chicago Bears defense, who is a still very stout and very good defense. Really impressive performance by Kamara here. I loved what I saw. I didn't like what I really saw from Drew Brees and the Saints as a total, but when Kamara's running the routes as smooth as he is, he's so darn good after the catch. He's always going to be a very high possibility of having a phenomenal week. And even with no touchdowns and against a great defense, Kamara showed why he's one of the absolute best in fantasy football. Next week doesn't get much easier, though. Unfortunately, going from Chicago, the New Orleans Saints are now taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 8th in the NFL against running backs, giving up 14.75 points. They also have the linebackers to kind of stick with Alvin Kamara a little bit, and Levante David and Devin White. That does tend to worry me in the sense of, could Kamara have a massive week? I would be pretty surprised by that. But with Kamara having his rushing attempts, he's guaranteed to have at least 5 to 6 receptions. And with the possibility of hitting pay dirt, he's an absolute must start going forward week over week, obviously. In terms of what I would do if I was an Alvin Kamara owner, once again, I would dance, but I would not look to trade him at all. And obviously the advice is to look to try and trade for him. Again, not really sure you're going to be able to very much. If you're going to, now might be the week, or hopefully after next week, just because he plays back-to-back very tough defenses here. Might be the time to double-check your waiver wires. Make sure Latavius Murray's not on waivers. I highly, highly doubt that he is, but he might be riding someone else's bench. Since you're not going to be able to trade for Kamara, now might be the time to go look to trade for Latavius Murray, as if Kamara was to unfortunately have an injury. Murray would run up into that running back 1 territory pretty darn quickly. So, while you may not be able to trade for Kamara, I would go see where Latavius Murray is in your league. And as long as the Kamara owner does not also have Latavius, you might actually be able to get him at a pretty good price. Not that it's going to be a ton of value going forward. It is much more of an upside play. And if you are the Kamara owner, you absolutely must go trade for Latavius Murray. Double check your waivers, make sure he's not on there. Hopefully you already have him rostered. Finally on this list, we have a guy that's probably a little bit of a surprise with 22.8 fantasy points, coming off of 15 rushes for 62 yards, a touchdown, along with 4 targets, 3 receptions for 16 yards, and another touchdown. As you all probably guessed, we're talking about the always great Giovanni Bernard. Bernard, who played against the Tennessee Titans defense in an upset win for the Cincinnati Bengals. I was really impressed here with the Bengals offense in total, along with Giovanni Bernard, as I figured the Tennessee Titans were going to be able to control the clock and kind of handily win this game, as they were pretty big favorites going into it. I think you saw a lot from Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati team, and Giovanni Bernard. The downside of Giovanni Bernard is that while he was super impressive this week with his 22.8 fantasy points, he's heading into a bye right now, which I believe will give Joe Mixon the opportunity to get more healthy and get back into this offense. Not only that, that alone is going to limit Giovanni Bernard's role, as we all know, but even worse is that coming out of the bye week, Cincinnati is going to Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is currently 5th in the NFL, allowing points to fantasy running backs, giving up only 14 points a game. So even if Gio was to be the full-time starter in this game, I wouldn't really like him that much. And especially if Joe Mixon's going to be back healthy after a bye week, I'm not even sure Gio's flex-worthy territory, in all honesty. This does show you, though, if you're a Joe Mixon owner, you absolutely must have Giovanni Bernard going forward, as they're showing that he will get the work if he's given that running back 1 option for them, which is a positive sign going forward, but I'm not really sure what the future outlook is on him right now because of that. I want to be racing out to trade for him. I would look to move him, though, if you have Giovanni Bernard and you're not the Joe Mixon owner. Try and flip him to the Joe Mixon owner. Try and get, even if you get like a receiver 2 or 3 out of it, based on where your team is, you're giving him value and he can give you value back. I think there could be a really good deal to be made there, as they have shown that Giovanni Bernard will be the workhorse if Joe Mixon is out. If I had to rank these 3 rest of season, I would still take Kamara 1, just because of the PPR work that he's going to continue to get. And I think he's in a better offense than this Minnesota offenses. Number 2 would obviously be Dalvin. I do absolutely love Dalvin going forward the rest of the season, as I believe this is how they're going to continue to try and play, is running the ball and dominating the time of possession, followed by a pretty far distant third in Gio Bernard, who I would actually look to trade if possible. Could be some value there for yourself and for another team. Thank you guys so much for watching. We greatly appreciate it. Drop down in the comments below who your running back studs were this week and who you're looking to trade for or possibly even looking to move off of. Again, do me a huge favor, hit the like button. Remember to subscribe for more content going forward. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.